X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm the bad boy of X-Men podcasting, Zach Jenkins. How we doing, Adam?
I'm good. You know, I had a pondering though, as we were getting ready for this week's show.
What are you pondering?
Well, many of our favorite Marvel characters have signature sound effects, right? Like
Bamfs,
Bamf,
Snicks,
Thwip,
Thwips.
Sflang, right? But
Sflang, the arcade effect, yes. As we all know, Sflang.
Sflang.
I knew what you were talking about immediately.
Is it weird that Wolverine has snicked and yet Cyclops does not have a signature sound effect for his optic blast? Why is that?
Yes, I think about it constantly. It's because at this point, they would have to make a concentrated effort to say Cyclops is going to have this sound effect in all of his things. And unfortunately, all of the Cyclops stories have been told already. Right. Not all of them, but like we have passed the point where we can add this weird effect to him for it to become a Cyclops thing. We're getting to year 60 of Cyclops.
Yeah, that's true. Happy birthday.
Cyclops, it's too much. There's too much Cyclops.
Yeah. I just started thinking about it because the first story we're going to talk about this week does have a really good sound effect for Cyclops optic blast, and it's Zark. I think Zark is a pretty good one.
They were trying to make Zark a thing for a while. I
like
distinctly
that.
remember them trying Zark. I don't like it.
No, not a fan.
I'm not a fan of Zark.
It'd be great if it just went pew pew every time you did it.
You know what? They should do. Here's the thing. I actually don't love sound effects in comics, and here's why.
In general,
and here's why. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm listening.
Most people are bad at them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you're not like a John Workman or a Russell Dodderman or someone who is going to get some good sound effects in there, it can feel superfluous and a weird holdover from the past when in this visual medium, if your art is not showing sound or anything like that, you better have a good reason for adding this in there because it's a remnant of the times when comics were a drawing and then the character explaining the drawing and then the next panel of them talking about that drawing. And it's just, we do comics differently now. It's a weird hangover, and it's obviously not in all things, but like, if
so it's less about the sound effects and about the incorporation of the sound effect into the art on the page. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, it should all work together.
Here's the thing: it's not like letterers get paid enough to actually put effort into this.
Ugh, that's so true. That's such a sad state of affairs. Anyway,
but do you know what's not a sad state of affairs?
60 years of Cyclops? I don't know. We're talking about Cyclops this week.
I was going to say our Patreon supporter, Patrick Stump, who I assume is not the bassist / lead singer of Fall Out Boy and is in fact just some person.
You know what? We know, right, that the Doctor Who guy from House of Dragons listens to us, right? And
is that a bit that I had forgotten about?
No, I don't even know if it's a bit because we don't know who that is. We don't know if that's the guy.
Wait, is that Matt Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Was he a Doctor Who?
Yeah, a big important one. We do know
he was a Doctor Who. How important could it be?
I mean, Doctor Who's are very important to people, you know. We know about our buddy Jason, who's a referee for the WWE, so it makes sense.
Jason, who I did see on a pay-per-view that I got free with a free trial of Peacock, and I watched because my friend was watching it, and I was like, I will put this on for 1 second.
So if members of Fall Out Boy want to be listening and requesting stories, I'm not going to argue with them. You know what I mean?
I will
think
argue
that's
with
great.
Pete Wentz all day long. Don't get it started. I will absolutely, and you know what? No, I'll argue with all of Fall Out Boy because, like, guys, what are you doing? Listen, I didn't like you when I was a teenager all that much, but coming out of the screamo and like pop punk scene, I could appreciate Take This to Your Grave, and to a lesser extent From Under the Cork Tree. Though I feel like From Under the Cork Tree has the problem where it blew up, and now all of those songs, especially Sugar We're Going Down, are just seared into my brain as like this weird super fuse MTV time in everybody's life. But I'll stand, I get the Chicago punk influences that they started with. What the heck are you doing for the last 15 years, Fall Out Boy? Why did you just make bad music then afterwards?
If this request is actually from a Fall Out Boy, that's a really wild thing to do, to thank him. Is to trash his music.
Listen. One, you know, Patrick, thanks for the memories, even if they weren't so great. That's all I've got to say to you, buddy. Man, I'm sure either Patreon supporter Patrick Stump is like, I've heard this bit so much, or Patreon supporter Patrick Stump is canceled. And you know what? Hold on. Then he's going to go to his friend Pete and have him write a song called like, I sent a request to someone in Battle of the Atom, and all I got was this stupid long bit that no one cares about written about me. And he's going to be like, I found the cure for a boring podcast. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, that's a lot of Fall Out Boy information.
Great. Now, if you want to be like Fall Out Boy, what should you do?
Start Fueled by Ramen Records, I guess.
No, to request a story.
They didn't start Fueled by Ramen. What did they start? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
None of us need to think about Fall Out.
Patreon.com/comicsxf. There you go.
Hey, you can request a story for us to cover. And here's the great news. The list has never been shorter.
It's true. We have so many people who, thank you so much, are contributing to Comics XF, contributing to the Patreon, but we have lots of room on our schedule for requests. So if you haven't made a request in a while, send one in. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Hey, and by the way, special bonus thing for patrons. We have a milestone episode coming up really soon. And I'm going to tell you, since we are an X-Men podcast, you know what we love? We love some holofoil covers. And patrons will get a holofoil version that's exclusive to patrons of the 300th episode of Battle of the Atom. And don't you want a glossy JPEG in faux holofoil? Because you're going to be able to walk around to your friends and say, look at my podcast app. I have the holofoil one. What do you got? You got Jack.
You got the regular, the newsstand.
The reprint is what that is. You got a reprint podcast.
Which we hope everyone will listen to anyway.
I really hope everyone will listen to. Maybe 300 will be a good episode. Who knows?
We don't know yet. Awesome episode.
It has the potential to be an awesome episode.
Yeah.
It has the potential for us to have some fun.
That's all we need. So Patrick requested what? What was the story?
Cyclops Volume 2, Number 1 from 2010, called The Bicycle Thief, or How Did Cyclops Get His Groove Back?
Yes, this is a lot of fun. I enjoyed this very much.
It's by Lee Black and Dean Hapspiel.
Yep. It is a Silver Age Cyclops story, kind of in the realm of First Class.
Listen, it's got a Roger Cruz First Class cover.
It does. And this is coming out around the same time as the Jean Grey one shot that we talked about recently, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Except this one, I think, personal opinion, much better.
Oh, this one is better. Because here's the thing. Cyclops is doing what he always does in the 60s, and that is sitting in a cafe. I believe he is in the Cafe Go-Go. Sitting there reading his favorite book, Sun Tzu's War and Peace.
War and Peace? No.
Nope. No. War and Peace is by Lev Tolstoy.
Peace. I don't think Sun Tzu was so worried about the peace part.
No, Sun Tzu was really worried about the war part, which is the opposite of Leo Tolstoy, who really is much better at the peace part, even though there's a part in the war part recently that he got me to pop. It's a last page reveal or an end of chapter reveal. And I was like, oh, dang, Leo, you got me. You got me. I am staring at a picture from Jay Edidin and Tom Riley's X-Men Marvels. It's a very long time. This Cyclops book that Jay Edidin did, the Cyclops issue?
Yep.
Where Cyclops is walking around the city with a copy of War and Peace, or The Art of War. So I did giggle at that a lot.
This does seem in like in the same realm as what Jay was trying to go for with that book, right?
But his was better. Jay's was better. Jay's isn't on this list.
Yeah.
I find it a little weird to rank things from people who have been guests on this podcast.
We've done it before.
We'll do it again. I'm sure. So just for the record, Jay's story is not in this group of stories, but it is better than all three of these that we're going to talk.
This is much goofier, right?
Heads up.
So this one's really silly. Essentially, Cyclops is sitting in the Cafe at Go-Go, wondering if everybody really does believe that he's such a stick in the mud, which of course Scott is. And it's a good thing that he's there, because who comes breaking through the window and he's forced to save Zelda, the what do you call the people who make the coffee?
Barista.
The barista, yes, the barista. Who comes through the window, Zach?
Oh, he's Bertrand Zelipa.
Yes, in a clown car.
You can't be racist to French people. It's okay. We tried so hard in the early 2000s, and even then they were like, "Yeah, but you guys are in the wrong here, Mr. Freedom Fries."
The Batroc is in a little car with the circus of
Batroc. Batroc Zelipa.
The circus of crime.
I love Batroc Zelipa. I don't particularly love the Circus of Crime. I think they're fine.
They're great here. This is really fun.
Do you know what I think is weird about Batroc Zelipa?
What's that?
So he was in a lot of movies, and they didn't have, or a movie, and they did not have him leap enough.
He only really leaped once, if I remember correctly. But like the Batroc in MCU is a UFC guy, and this
it's Joseph Pierre.
The real Batroc the Leaper is like...
I do think it's very funny that they got Georges St. Pierre from Montreal to be the most French guy.
Yeah.
Like, that rules so hard. Great casting, Kevin Feige and or the lady who does the casting for Captain America. I know there's a lady who like does the casting. I just don't know her name. Okay, like that's not me stereotyping.
No, I don't know anything about these things. So this crew gets chased around by Cyclops as they steal what seem to be just useless trinkets. What I love about this is that Cyclops not only has a very fashionable an orange X-Men backpack, which has his costume in it, which I love. He also later dons a very fashionable orange X-Men hoodie and expects people to think like he doesn't look like Cyclops. But he does steal a bicycle and leave a little note with Professor X's phone number on it to apologize.
It's adorable that he's like, I did steal your bike. I intend to get it back, but I understand you're going to have a bad day because of me now. And I'm sorry, but I was following Batroc Zelipa.
Yeah. So the Circus of Crime and Batroc do take in take in some culture, which I thought was also a great part of this story, right? They go to an art museum.
Batroc Zelipa and the Circus of Crime are just kind of chilling for most of this. They're doing a few crimes.
Can I tell you what's great about this issue? They go to see Kraven the movie, which is now a real thing being previewed at CinemaCon recently, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Previewed?
Yes, it's a real thing.
There's footage. I can't believe this is actually impossible that this is coming out. I will not watch it. Like it won't happen. But it's the year of Kraven the Hunter. If he doesn't have a a lion face that shoots lasers out of the eyes, which are conspicuously on his nipples, I don't think Steve Ditko would be happy with it.
I don't know. It's being
I think he
advertised
would
as very.
think.
Wait, what?
I just think Steve Ditko would think that it's objectively bad.
Oh, Steve Ditko would not be happy at all. So
He would have very strong black and white opinions about this.
yes. Ayn Rand would not approve. The Circus of Crime does turn out to be working for one of the Baron Zemos.
It's Heinrich Zemo. The one Baron Zemo died in World War II. He was a active Nazi, where Heinrich Zemo is a passive Nazi. Henrik Zemo was not directly affiliated with the Nazi Party of Germany in the 40s.
Yeah. And what's great about their fight scene when Cyclops does go one-on-one with Zemo is that Zemo kind of just gets tired really quickly and is like, maybe we should just skip this. We seem kind of evenly matched. And then Cyclops goes zacked and zaps him, and it's great. And ties up everybody.
I do need to make an update. Heinrich Zemo is the Nazi Zemo, like the strong Nazi, not the soft Nazi of Helmut Zemo.
Well, Cyclops does manage to tie up all the criminals, and it's great. He finishes off this story just letting Professor X know he'll be home later, and reads the Daily Bugle. It's a delightful little romp. I love it.
It's a fun little one shot. I like Dean Haspiel's art.
I love Dean's art here. It's great.
It's just really enjoyable. It's got the stereotypical Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it, but I don't mind it.
No.
Like, Dean could do the next run of X-Men Adventures,
Sure. Yeah. This is fun. Like, this is just a fun story. And if people missed it,
story.
I totally understand why you might have missed it, right? This is a 2010 one-shot that I don't know if anybody picked up at the time. You would never know what kind of story is inside of it based on the Roger Cruz cover.
You would know that it's an X-Men First Class story.
Yeah, but like the style is
First Class
completely different.
Yeah, because Roger Cruz is not my favorite.
I believe we established that recently on the Jean Grey episode. Yes. But I like this story.
I think about Roger Cruz too much.
Maybe it's possible. So why don't we try and rank this on our big old list, Zach?
Oh yeah, we have a big old list. Here's the thing about our big old list. We're on the road to 800, and Adam, we're at 771.
Oh my
we're ranking
goodness.
all the X-Men stories from best to worst, with the best story being the House of X Powers of 10, number 100 being Ultimate X-Men World Tour, number 200 being Uncanny X-Men 97, My Brother, My Enemy, number 300 being X-Men Disassembled, number 400 being X-Force 49 and 50, Cable versus X-Force, number 500 being that time in Avengers where the Sun Sentinels came back, number 600 being The Birth of Krakoa from Journey into Mystery, a story that doesn't make sense anymore. Number 700 is What If Wolverine, Enemy of the State, and number 771, the worst X-Men story of all time, is 2099, World of Tomorrow. Would never feel weird.
I know. I had somebody tweet me today and say, wait, when did that happen? Because they must have missed that episode.
So I pointed them in the right direction. World of Tomorrow
I was like,
episode.
Momentous changes happening here. So we have a couple.
You can't skip things here. We are a tight continuity on this podcast.
True. So we have Cyclops Volume 1 down at 477. I think this is better than that.
This is better than Cyclops Volume 1. Where do we have Cyclops Volume 3?
It's at 259, and I'm going to say I like this better.
You sure?
I think this is more fun. I mean, that does have Russell Dauterman art for some of it, right? Not a lot of it.
And then Carmen Carnero for the last few. It's not bad. It does have it's not what I want it to be. Like that is a book that it didn't reach far enough, and it could have.
Yeah.
It grabbed the first thing it could do, not as far as it could go. And that is a challenge with it. This is not better than X-Men 70 Homecoming, that time that Maggot eats a bomb that was in Cyclops' chest.
Yeah, okay, that's probably true. But
that's at 250. That's our strong 250 right now.
Yeah. I I think it could be better than Age of Apocalypse and Uncanny X-Force 19.1.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's not as good as World War X, I don't think.
No, I think you're right. So that's a 253. That's Ultimate Comics X-Men 29 to 31. All right. So this is going to be our new 254, Zach.
Our new 254. It's Cyclops. He does fight a Zemo.
Definitely check this one out if you've not. It's a lot of fun. I liked it a lot.
Let's talk about a different weird time for Cyclops.
Yes, let's talk about a much maligned era. We're fast forwarding to the Rosenberg days of Uncanny here, but we're not talking about Rosenberg Uncanny, but we're in the era of War of Realms. What is this comic, Zach?
It's Champions number 5, written by Jim Zub with Juanan Ramirez on the art. Here's the thing. As we've established on this show, 05 Cyclops was on the Champions for a while.
That's right.
It was a weird choice. Didn't really do much of anything for anyone. But, like, it said Cyclops has other friends, which, okay, sure. Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
At the time, Champions when it launched, Champions did seem like it would be a thing and a going concern. And there was a lot of hotness with it. I mean, you had Kamala and Miles on the team, and then some other. You had Vision from the very acclaimed Vision series that had just come out.
Amadeus
and
Cho.
Then you had. I mean, did anyone like the Totally Awesome Hulk run?
I don't know. I'm just saying,
I'm just being honest here with that one.
It was
there was hype behind it.
Yes, it was an of the moment book, and Nova, right?
Nova was on it.
Yeah,
but it kind of. It didn't give you what you wanted. Very much like that Cyclops solo series. It didn't give you what you wanted. But then Cyclops had to go back in time, and so he had to leave the Champions. Also, Jim Zub started writing the Champions, and he wanted to do a shakeup. And I'm not a huge fan of Jim Zub's Champions. I think it's mostly bad. But this is an interesting one because it is deep Rosenberg arc Cyclops. So
yes,
Cyclops, when it's like, hey, let's give him the worst possible time that he could ever have.
That's right. So for listeners who may have maybe haven't read it in a while and kind of forgot how dark this got, remember that Cyclops lost an eye.
Rules, actually. So good. No Cyclops notes about that.
Was a Cyclops. And during the War of Realms, the X-Men are holed up inside which stadium? Is it Yankee
the Mets
Stadium?
One. No,
it's the Mets. Okay,
it's
yeah,
the Mets.
Yeah. And I remember that War of Realms mini actually being kind of fun.
It's a 3-issue mini, and honestly, I think the biggest problem with it is that it ends really abruptly and weirdly.
Yeah.
And also is oddly tied into the Rain plot that Rosenberg was doing. That doesn't that it had some challenges, and there's some people who didn't like the direction that it went, and I understand that. So it's a little maligned, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's a very weird time to do a team up where Cyclops just pops out and starts hanging out with Kamala Khan, his old friend.
So the lineup of the champions in this volume. So what volume is this? 3?
This is volume 3.
3. The lineup is Ms. Marvel, Miles Morales, Sam Alexander, Brawn, Vision, Ironheart, Snowguard, Wasp, and Dust has recently sort of joined the team, is kind of hanging out.
The book doesn't continue long enough to give her an actual plot.
That's unfortunate. Dust deserves better, but
you have others on this one. Power Man's in this.
Yeah, Patriot.
Patriot from Marvel Snap. Hey, by the way, it's a hot location right now, and I think Patriot might be pound for pound the best deck at the moment. So if Marvel Snap hasn't changed from a week ago,
who's this? Who's this little? Pinpoint, the little Beast Boy teleporter kid is here too.
That's a character from Champions Volume 3, number 1, has appeared 11 whole times, all of which in Champions, except for an odd appearance in Iron Fist Heart of the Dragon.
Wow. Well, it's
Larry Hama, Iron Fist Heart of the Dragon. That book was good, actually.
it's a good thing that Pinpoint is here, because if you didn't have a teleporter, this story would not work, because our champions are fighting off trolls in Melbourne, I believe. But of course, Cyclops is in New York.
He's in New York. They teleport him.
Right. So Ms. Marvel does seem to be at her wit's end. There has been some issues with some of the members of the team. She doesn't seem to know how to
Miles made a
lead
deal with the
them.
devil. It's a whole thing. It's just, oh my gosh.
The Wasp is having some issues off panel. And well, Cyclops shows up with his big old head noggin bandage on and says,
my friends, to me, my champions.
To me, my champions. And
it's cute. That part's cute.
They all fight some trolls together. And Ms. Marvel is like, I'm so confused right now. You are either back in time or dead?
Great question, Kamala. Let me answer this. You do superhero stuff. You remember I was a teenager. I got pulled back in time. Well, we fixed all that. I got all my memories back. I remember you guys were really cool to me. And I get it. Like, it's weird. I'm an adult man. You're 17. We cannot be friends moving forward from this, but know that teenage me really did appreciate that you were nice to me. And I think you're going to be a really good superhero. And
Ms. Marvel tears up. She's so impressed that this Cyclops is the same Cyclops from
he remembers
her team.
Me!
It's so cute. She gives him a big hug. It's absolutely adorable. That's about it.
Cyclops has this really weird line when he comes back to the Mets stadium and Havoc is like, dude, we are literally saving all of New York City. What are you doing? And he says, my team needed me. And
yes.
Like, Cyclops. Buddy. You're pushing it a little. Like, you didn't have to put that on top of it.
It is
also
really...
your team here needs you even more. They are literally all dying all the time.
Yes. Going extinct pretty much. Like, what are you doing?
You are so lucky that they found out that it wasn't gold balls, it was eggs so soon after this. Because Cyclops, your track record is abysmal if they don't figure out that they're eggs.
Yeah. Jeez. So it is
a weird era.
It is such a weird, like, little moment here to have this kind of cutesy reunion in the midst of like literally one of the darkest periods of X-Men storytelling. But I don't know. I think it's at least somewhat effective, right?
It's cute.
It's a nice little moment for these characters.
It's not really a narrative.
No, it's a lot of just troll fighting for the most of the issue.
Well, that's just what War of the Realms is.
Yes. Right.
That's the secret. People got mad at one point when some people may have implied that Jason Aaron's Thor run isn't actually as good as you think it is when you take a step back and understand what's going on. And a lot of what you liked was Russell Dodderman's art and Assad Rebek's art. The master Assad Rebek. Let's not hold it back for Assad. He does some heck of a lot of work. But War of the Realms kind of really does suck.
I think I was off the books by that point, but
it's just so much. Every plot, every tie-in is, well, we got to fight this troll. We got to fight these trolls. We got to fight these trolls, except for the Squirrel Girl tie-in, which is good and perfect and pure. Also, the Giant Man.
I was going to say where they fight the ice, the frost giants, right?
Yes, that's great. The McElroys from podcasts did a book in War of the Realms. That was a tie-in to, I forget what story it tied back into, but it was Buck Wild.
Yeah.
There was a lot. It was a weird time.
Yeah.
Fun fact. The McElroy's book, and this is, fast forward 10 seconds if you don't care about this joke, because it's only going to be relevant to a very small subset of people. Travis McElroy said that he wanted Wonder Man in that book because Wonder Man's his favorite Marvel character, and that tells you everything you need to know about Wonder Man and Travis McElroy.
That's a choice. That's for sure.
It's one of the meanest things I've ever said on this podcast, but only for a handful of people.
Well, he is going to get his MCU show, so apparently that's.
Oh my gosh! I don't know. We're not talking about. This is enough Wonder Man. We're not talking about Wonder Man for another year. Adam, should we rank this one?
We should. It is definitely not as good as that story we just talked about. So I also don't think this is as good as Cyclops.
Yeah,
Volume
The other
1.
Champions story we have, it's not as good as the other Champions story we have on here. Champions 12, Cyclops has a day.
We have, which one's the Halloween episode issue where they go trick or treating? Because
That's a Nova one.
Oh, that's Nova.
That's not Champions. That's Nova. That's actually pre-Champions Nova.
Okay. See, I still
Champions
think that
12
was
is at
better.
328. Nova is at 610. Nova 22 is at 610.
Yeah.
Right above Reign of Terra.
I think that Nova issue might have been cuter than this, like it had kind of more going on.
Okay, then we're putting it right under that because
am I being too hard on this issue? Like,
I think Adam, yes. In fact, I'm going to say absolutely. Also, you're forgetting how boring that Nova one is because it's not even close to as good as the cover is. And all I can think about is the cover. And you tell me what happened in there besides the cover.
Well, they went trick or treating,
They don't even do a good job trick or treating. They stop some kids from stealing some other kids' candy. It's not as good as 439 ROM 17 through 18 hybrid.
No, it's not as good as Age of Apocalypse X-Man at 586.
Is it better than that time that Magneto got turned in? No, it's not better.
No,
than that time Magneto got turned in. It's better than Search for Cyclops at 590.
All right, I'll get behind that. What's that Exiles arc that's right above that?
That's the one where they get sent into the. This is better than they do the arena fight thing, like the gladiator stuff.
Okay, so that's a King Hyperion future.
No, it's before King Hyperion. This is like early Exiles.
Right. So this is going to be our new 589 Champions Volume 3, number 5, the War of the Realms crossover. And we've got one more for you today. What is it, Zach?
Well, you know how our show's called Battle of the Atom?
I'm familiar.
You know how Battle of the Atom was the first major crossover coming out of the Marvel Now era, which was really headlined, at least on the X-Men side, by the book All New X-Men.
I'm familiar. That was like a really exciting time for X-Men for me, at least.
And you know how person who we like and respect, Brian Michael Bendis, pretty much lost the plot at a certain point on that book.
Well, as we know, there were, a variety of things that we don't know about that kind of led up to the end of.
As we know, there were things we don't know about. No, yeah,
yes. Yeah. After Secret Wars,
I am not putting all the blame on Brian on this one. There were extenuating circumstances involving a very petty billionaire.
I mean, and a gigantic company-wide crossover called Secret Wars. So we have to come out of that on the other side with kind of like a fresh restart, right? And
yes,
we get something interesting happening at this time, which was something. How would you describe?
You're being very kind. We get some of the worst X-Men comics that have come out in a while, including All New X-Men Volume 2, 1 through 3, The Ghosts of Cyclops. This is written by friend of the show, Dennis Hopeless, yes. With art by M-Bags himself. It's Mark Bagley. You know he's in his bag.
He sure is. And this is not the same lineup that we left with All New X-Men, because Jean is nowhere to be seen on this team because she's
non-extraordinary.
Non-extraordinary. And as we've talked about previously, this era is very notable for trying to set up that Cyclops is like the worst supervillain of all time in whatever the time jump was after Secret Wars. And we'll get into it a little bit more. And that is basically what this arc revolves around, except no one's allowed to tell you what he did because no one knows what he did.
That's the thing. Okay, listen, I understand that storytelling is an evolution. You cannot plan something out 2 years in advance and assume that everything is going to go exactly as planned. Things change, people change. My needs, they seem to stay the same. And those needs, Adam, those needs are having the cornerstone bits of your story that you're building to or building around. Have those like jotted down.
Yes, have those penciled
and just
in.
Like, don't say like someone did a thing. That's a great outline. That's how you start your outline. Is like, Okay, so Cyclops did something. We don't like Cyclops anymore. Great. What a pitch. What did he do? We'll get there. Great. We'll figure it out, but we got to do that before we get writing. Oh, actually, the books do. He's evil, but we can't tell more about it. He's also dead. And it just sucks because now we know what he did.
Yes.
And it makes these stories worse.
Yes.
Because it's like, at worst, here's what Cyclops did at worst.
At worst, he
got rid of 1 out of 2 clouds that were causing a global panic and turning people into superheroes in weird cocoons. And 2, attempted to kill a guy in a superhero fight, and that guy was a jerk. Like, historically, no one liked him. He wasn't even a ruling monarch. He was a bar owner.
He
was a guy who owned a bar and was married or divorced to the queen. So that's what Cyclops did. Like,
yeah.
And I have written, I want to be clear, I have done the work. There is a piece out from adventuresinpoortaste.com back in 2018 maybe, where I gave a eulogy, an obituary for Cyclops, written from the perspective of a human who would hate him and why they would hate him. And even when I got to this point, I was like, okay, but it only works if like the Inhumans did like a real big PR push, right? Because like in general, he does not seem to do anything conspicuously different than the top 50% of supervillains on a day-to-day basis.
It is a real cognitive disconnect because let's back up a sec. The lineup of this version of All New X-Men is Cyclops. This is the 05 kids.
It's the 05 right? Minus Jean.
Time travel, right? So we have post Black Vortex, Firewing Angel. We have Sorcerer Kid Beast.
Not a sorcerer yet, but
not yet, but he will be in this book, right? Which is one of the few things out of this book I liked, but not in this arc. Iceman, Cyclops, Genesis is here, so Kid Apocalypse.
Not Apocalypse's wife, Apocalypse's clone.
Right.
And not Cable's son, Genesis. This is a different Genesis. It's Evan. Evan Sabinor. And it doesn't matter. He doesn't do anything in these 3 issues.
No. Edie is here. And
also doesn't do anything in these 3 issues.
Also, well, they are ordered to like move a bus, like a moving camper or something.
Hey,
and
don't put them in your book if you're not going to do anything with them.
Great point. And then we have Laura Kinney, Wolverine, the Wolverine.
Great. Love her.
So the plot of the first 3 issues is that the rest of the team has kind of come together for no real reason other, I guess they're just road tripping after Cyclops' death. They're friends, they're pals. They've got a really cool like camper that Pickles the Bamf can teleport to wherever they need to. It is also larger inside than it is outside thanks to beast science. But Cyclops is not part of the group. So Cyclops is kind of being grumpy because...
Is he also reading The Art of War in this one, or is he reading a different book?
At the start of it, he is just taking notes from...
That's right.
The Chicago Herald about the ghosts of Cyclops. I don't know that he picks up
I knew he was sitting there with some sort of literature.
Yeah, so the ghosts of Cyclops suck. They are a group of, I guess, college-age kind of radicals who all have the Racer X bandana, like the X over their eyes, and
the cool Cyclops look X.
Yeah, they're very much the most blasé, bland, superpowered characters.
Name one
ever seen.
Name one of them. Name one of their names.
Guy with water coming out of his mouth.
Thirst. His name is Thirst.
Oh,
it's a
Thirst.
Terrible name, and he's the main one.
Oof.
It's Thirst, Pillar, Juice, Tar Pit, Sebastian, and unnamed other.
They're not great. They're not great. And they seem to be sort of attacking humans at random, like kind of domestic terrorists, but also like kind of wimpy and like don't really want to be doing what it is they're doing. Like they don't really have their manifesto together. If you follow, like, It's pretty lame stuff. And Cyclops is just mortified that his adult self, who apparently was some kind of genocidal maniac, apparently
Truly an evil man.
an evil man, is being validated by this group who's going around attacking.
Cyclops talks to one of them. There's fights. The story ends. It's so bizarre to be centered around this because it was a mystery. It was like, what did Cyclops do? I don't know. What's happening? In the Ghosts of Cyclops, these guys are like, no, we stand with Cyclops. He was right to do what he did. And I'm like, I agree with you. Don't get it twisted. I think the Inhumans are the bad guys too.
But they don't.
But I'm just confused by any of this.
What are
you mad at? What are you mad at, Ghosts of Cyclops? You're just yelling Cyclops was right. And I understand that in 2015, you kind of just did that on the internet and yelled out, Cyclops was right, without any real form or context or anything about it.
Yeah. So,
but also, what are they talking about in this one?
They have no idea. And I don't think Dennis or any of the other people writing the books at this time were ever in a room where they decided what adult Cyclops had actually done. The dialogue, I just want to read some of this. They get Thirst and young Cyclops end up in prison together, right? They're in a jail cell. And Thirst says, dude, we're all about Cyclops. Dude stood up and told it like it is. Mutants have been beaten down and screwed over long enough. This Cyclops mask, and young Scott yells at this guy, makes you look like a self-righteous mass murdering psychopath? I'm sorry, is Cyclops, the dead Cyclops, a mass murderer to your information? Is he a psychopath?
Let's see. He does hate aliens. That part's true. That part, he does want to kill a lot of aliens all of the time.
I'm just saying, in the context of what
it's nuts.
It is so stupid that they try to equate Cyclops to like a Hitler, essentially, right? Because
that is in Champions.
That is in Champions.
That is actually in Champions.
Right? And then Extraordinary does similar things where they imply that he has done this like heinous.
I feel like Extraordinary is softer on Cyclops than this book is. Like Extraordinary is like, yeah, we're not happy with Cyclops after what Cyclops did.
Yeah.
But they're not like Cyclops ate a baby.
Right.
Where this book is like, Cyclops is sharpening that knife and that child's thighs are looking juicy.
It's rough. So, the most interesting character interaction I think happens in these 3 issues is the stuff that's happening between Laura and Warren.
Angel. Yeah.
Right? Because Warren wants to
great.
protect Laura. Laura's basically like, I'm indestructible. Get away from me. It's okay if I'm gross and burnt to a crisp for a second. I'll fix myself. And Warren's like, well, I like it when you're pretty, and that's fun. Like there's interesting.
There's an interesting plot here. I like Hopeless in general. Like Hopeless has written a lot of things that I enjoy. This one sucks.
The setup is terrible.
I understand that we don't have the full story about what was going on in this era, and I understand that a lot of the X-Men stuff was kind of thrown together after Mike Martz left and Rick Remender quit. So I have sympathy for the individuals who are doing it. And look, they got Mark Bagley on this. Do you know why they have Mark Bagley on this? Mark Bagley can draw a comic book quick, and even if I don't love his art, like this is perfectly benchmark level comic book art. Like this is a Marvel comic book.
Yes. What I will say about M-Bags here is that this is probably not his best work, and I don't think it's his fault. I think that it's a bad pairing. Obviously, we know M-Bags best from his work with Spider-Man. Classic Spidey artist. It makes sense why they picked him for this book because it is very much a kid's talking book. But
it is a kid's talking book.
The characters, when they finally get into action, it just doesn't suit his art style.
It's the same issue they had with putting Humberto Ramos and Mark Waid on freaking Champions right after this.
Yep.
They both did that Impulse book that everyone seems to love. I've not read it. I'm not reading about a third tier Flash character. I'm sorry. But that was of a time, and that time was not the mid 2010s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark Bagley Like Ultimate Spider-Man, a unbeatable record with Ultimate Spider-Man.
Mhm.
It will never be broken. It's a Cal Ripken Jr. kind of record with Ultimate Spider-Man and M-Bags here. Will never be touched, will never be broken. He's not the teen artist for 2015.
No. And honestly, even if this had sort of a more stylistic approach to it, it just isn't a good pitch for a book, unfortunately.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't have enough of a spin on it. And I think coming out of that Secret Wars thing, I think people were expecting something a little more radical. And to see that our 05 is just kind of like hanging around in a
We're still
camper,
here.
we're just hanging out in a camper. Like we could do more. So
it really does feel like they're like, look, we just need a book. We're keeping the 05 around. Have them do superhero things for a while.
Yeah.
What should my pitch be? Can you get 20 pages in this month? That's what the pitch is. It's get something out the door. The X-Men fans are already going to be mad, and we're going to milk them for every last dollar. And you know what? I own all these issues. They got me.
So I think I'm going to go out on a limb here. Down at 508 on the list, we have the first 5 issues of Extraordinary X-Men.
This is worse than that, and I would have told you that at the time.
This is worse than that, I think. You know, I think Extraordinary is at least a more interesting pitch, and I think Ramos is trying to do something more exciting with his artwork. How far down are we going here, Zach?
I mean, here's the thing. We did talk crap about Death of X. Yeah. Death of X is a better comic than this.
I would agree.
Death of X doesn't work in the larger scale of the context of this comic. Death of X doesn't work.
No.
Death of X as its own thing kind of works. Like, it gets most of the way there.
Well, if you take it by itself, right? But that's kind of beside the point, because Death of X is up at 469. So we already know.
Right. I wanted to give that context because we were talking about the reveal of Death of X.
No,
599
right.
we have IVX.
Interesting.
IVX does start making you think that they're going to do a good story, and then it makes the mistake of being a bad story at the end.
God. I think
this one is a bad story the whole time.
Yeah, I think this is worse. I honestly do.
It kind of is, isn't it?
Like, we're on, all right, I'm down at 622 is the Icons Iceman mini. I feel like we're in that realm right there, you know?
You know what? I think we're a little lower, because like 647 is Nightcrawler The Winding Way.
Oh, yeah. That was better.
That's better than this.
Yeah, no, you're right. We're going to keep our working our way down. Boy.
Is this better or worse than Wolverine the Vigil for Marvel Comics Presents 1-9?
I think this is better than that.
Yeah, there we go.
But I don't think this is as good as the PSA Smokescreen comic at 664.
It's not as good as Origin and Endings from Wolverine. No, it goes right above Vigil because it's not as good as that first Peter Corbeau issue.
That's right. Okay, so this is going to be our new 669 all new X-Men Volume 2. I swear,
we have some Dennis Hopeless comics in the top 100. Like, we do like the man. Go back and listen to our Dennis Hopeless episode where we had a great conversation and talking about the Jean Grey book. And then the moment we get off air, he says, yeah, so the book's canceled. That sucks.
Yeah.
But hey, I had fun doing it. I'm like, hey, Dennis, good for you. That book was Victor Ibanez and Dennis Hopeless. They did a great job on that. I hope nothing for the best for Mr. Hopeless there.
Yeah, me too.
Adam, I had fun.
This was a lot of fun. I love talking about Cyclops and his non-sound effecty eye blasts. So what's going on with you, man? What's going on?
Nothing.
Great.
I am doing a business.
Yeah.
I have coached one Little League soccer game and won.
Oh, wow. You're coaching now, not just on the sidelines.
I filled in for one, and we won that game. And then the real coach came back, and he didn't know how to defend the territory and hold the center line and push his guys up. So on offense, they had 2-on-4s the entire time. And how are you going to do that when these kids can't pass very well? You have to have that numbers game up there. I'm not saying you play magnet ball, but I am saying that you make sure that they don't have a breakaway, that the moment that they steal the ball from your offense, and they're going to because it's 4-on-2, that they have a bunch of field to set things up because you're playing your defense all the way back into the goal box.
I would like our listeners to know that the players of the game that Zach is getting really excited about right now are 7 years old.
Under 8 is
Under
the
8.
official designation.
Okay.
It's a U8 league. It's 5 to 7 in this one. Yes.
I'm so proud of you.
My son's the oldest player on the team.
I love it.
And he friggin' runs through him like a dump truck. It's great.
I think this is so funny.
I'm competitive, my dude.
I love it.
I'm competitive.
I absolutely love it. I would love for everybody to know that we will be pushing the cafeteria tables a little bit closer in our rivalry with Gosh Golly Wow very soon, because I will be on an upcoming episode.
Ooh, look at you.
So
they wouldn't invite the bad boy.
So keep your eyes and ears open for that. We'll be posting that on our socials. And what else is going on? Follow me on Instagram at adam.rec, Twitter at Arthur Stacy. And folks, we only have one episode to go before we hit 300. Zach, what are we talking about?
That 300 where you can get that holofoil cover?
Where you get that holofoil, get on that Patreon.
But I want all of you, when you get your holofoil, post about it on the socials. Let everyone know that you got the holofoil episode. And you're not one of the freeloaders who didn't cash in on the holofoil, folks. Just
make sure that you don't just like outright share, take like a blurry screen grab of it. So it's really just
No. Adam, fine. We got the blockchain behind this.
No, we do.
We've got ledgers involved.
We will not no. This is fungible.
Are we not minting these? Are these not Are these
no.
fungible?
These will.
I thought I specifically requested non-fungible.
These JPEGs will be as carbon neutral as possible. Okay.
Carbon neutral? Are we buying offset credits for this?
We're not buying offset credits. I know.
Because the economics around offset credits are questionable at best.
I don't really buy that whole thing. I don't want to get into this. I'm just saying we're not minting.
There needs to be more regulation around
blockchain.
Offset credits, but a better way to offset credits are fine when you're actually doing stuff, but when you're doing offset credits specifically to stop the destruction of specific land masses, then it becomes a very weird thing, and
not a fan.
It's a scam mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Absolutely. Just a way to keep polluting.
Buy more efficient electrical motors and combustion products from your local HVAC and refrigeration electric motor salesman.
All right, folks. We've established ourselves as feminists. Now we're establishing ourselves as environmentalists. And so what are we doing next week, Zach?
Next week's episode 299. So we're doing more 2099.
Yes. Okay, we're back to 2099 one more time.
We had a good one. We had a terrible one. Let's see what we got left as we shifted to turbo into 2099 and we shock our systems. But folks, it's gonna be wild. Until then, though, this has been Battle the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!